All right, we are live. We're on YouTube. Good morning, everybody. Before we start, I just want to give a big happy birthday wish to our fabulous clerk, Marianne McMaster.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
And don't worry, Marianne, we're going to spare you the pain of listening to us sing.
Okay. Well,
You
thank
needed
you all
to-
very much.
That
You
will
needed
not
to
be
make her-
happening.
You needed to make her turn on our video before you did that so we could watch her blush and be
I'm
embarrassed.
glad I shut it off.
I can see the red face oozing from even just the glare.
With the mask.
That's right. So we are here at Appropriations again this morning to hear from our colleagues on various bond proposals. So before we get started, I would like to start with introductions of the committee. So welcome back, Representative Cardone. Would you like to start us off?
Thank you. I'm Barbara Cardone. I represent House District 127, part of Bangor.
And Representative Corey.
I'm Patrick Coy, I represent House District 25, which is part of Wyndham.
Representative Cloutier.
Good morning, I'm Kristen Cloutier. I represent House District 60, which is part of Lewiston. And I have to head over and give testimony on a bill, so I'm going to leave and come back.
Great. Representative Arata.
Good morning. My name is Amy Arata, and I represent House District 65, which includes New Gloucester and part of Poland.
Representative Hymanson.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Patty Hymanson. I represent House District 4, which is parts of York, Wells, Sanford, and all of Ogunquit.
Representative Millett.
Morning. I'm Sowen Millett, House District 71, towns of Norway, Sweden, Waterford, and West Paris.
Representative Martin. He's on the phone. Representative Martin, would you like to introduce yourself? Apparently not. Maybe later. How about Senator Bailey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Donna Bailey. I represent Senate District 31, which is Saco, Old Orchard Beach, Hollis, Leamington, and part of Buxton.
Senator Davis.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you. My name is Paul Davis. I represent Senate District 4, which is all of Piscataquis, Patches, Somerset, and Penobscot.
Senator Davis had some big news in his district about some Finance Authority of Maine investment coming to your local.
Big Moose Mountain. It's a ski area up there. They're going to rebuild everything. The base
That's
lodge,
exciting.
the lift. There's also going to be a front down on Moosehead. It's really going to be something. If the whole thing goes through, there's going to be a bunch of people go to work up there. It's great. It's great.
Very
I
exciting.
remember back years ago, there was well over 100 people that worked there in the wintertime. Big deal in that small area.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Representative Martin, are you ready to introduce yourself?
Hi, John Martin. I'm still sideways, but we're trying to fix it.
Great. You're still from Eagle Lake, right? All right. My good co-chair, Representative Peirce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am Teresa Peirce. I represent House District 44, which is the majority of Falmouth, and I serve as the House Chair of Appropriations and Financial Affairs. And I'm looking forward to come visiting Senator Davis at the new ski resort. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. And I am State Senator Kathy Breen. I represent 6.5 communities in Cumberland County in the state Senate, and I serve as Senate Chair of Appropriations. I just want to let folks know that from the public that, this committee is holding its public hearing, but lots of other committees are doing work today. So various members of this committee will be popping off and on throughout our session as we have obligations for our own bills in other committees. So rest assured that all the testimony we hear today will be on the record and we'll have that available to us. I will also say for folks who are here to testify that if you're here for multiple bills, you are certainly welcome to say that and just speak once. But I would also suggest that you make sure you submit your written testimony electronically for each of the LDs that you're addressing, so that your testimony becomes part of the permanent record for each LD. Make sure you do that, and not, even though you might speak only once, make sure you are careful about submitting it for every bill. So are there any questions from the committee or anything before we get started? Representative Fay, did I forget to introduce you?
No, I don't think you forgot.
Okay. I neglected to.
I just wanted to say, Representative Fay, I'm here, and I represent House District 66, which is parts of the towns of Casco, Poland, and Raymond. And I was semi here yesterday. I had a little minor reaction to my second vaccination, so I'm happy to be back.
Well, thank you for raising your hand and making sure you introduce yourself, and my apologies. Any other questions before we get started? All right, so our first bill is LD 21, and we have the Senate President here, Senator Jackson, here to present the bill. I will promote him now from attendee to panelist. Good morning,
Hello.
Mr. President. Welcome.
Morning. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. My name is Troy Jackson. I have the great honor of serving as President of the Maine Senate, and I proudly represent District 1, which is northern Aroostook County, stretching roughly from Caribou north to the St. John Valley. The district that I represent has a lot to offer people in our state. We have a beautiful natural landscape, kind and hardworking people, and a rich history that includes a significant Franco-American culture in addition to Scotch-Irish, Swedish. We have quite a collection of people across Aroostook County with the influence, and I'm obviously very proud to represent there. It's also home to one of the top educational institutions in the country, the Maine School of Science and Mathematics, which is located in Limestone, which is on the very southern end of my district. Those familiar with the school are already aware of the important contributions this institution has made to the students both inside and outside of Maine. Founded in 1995 by the Maine legislature, MSSM is a public residential magnet school that serves high school students from across the state and around the world. In 2019, U.S. News and World Report named MSSM the #1 high school in Maine, the #2 high school in the United States, and the #2 magnet school in the U.S. Later that year, Newsweek further recognized MSSM by placing it in the top 10 STEM high schools in the country. And Boston's ABC affiliate released a video highlighting the school's excellence. As a son of a public school teacher, I understand the importance of education and the impact it can have on a young person's life. To the people of Maine, the value of this school is undeniable. Despite this fact, it has been too long since a significant investment has been made to improve the residential facilities or make building upgrades. Furthermore, these outdated facilities are widely recognized as one of the challenges facing the school's future. After talking with people in the area and consulting with people closely involved in the school, I decided to put this bond proposal before the committee in early 2020, before the COVID-19 pandemic hit and the legislature adjourned. Since then, the challenges of the pandemic has caused some further strains on the school, including the challenge of providing a safe learning environment that recognizes the emotional and intellectual well-being of the gifted students at the school. I'm before you again in the hopes that you can do your part to ensure that MSSM remains a shining gem in Aroostook County. This proposal will give $10 million to the MSSM for a new dorm facility The money would also be used to renovate and expand existing dorms at the school in Limestone. This would help to address both the problem of outdated facilities at the school and the problem of limited space to housing the attending students at MSSM. Given the combination of these factors, I believe the time is now to invest in the school that has made us so proud. And I would further say that, I was not at all part of the force that brought this school to Limestone. I don't know, what was the driving factor, but I do think that the state, through the years, has probably not done as much as it could have to invest in the school. And despite that, the school has done extremely well. And like you said, it's really one of the shining lights that we have in Mercer County. As I said, Limestone is on the lower southern end of my district, but I had the good fortune of having a grandfather that ran a farm there, and my mother and her family attended Limestone High School in the days of Loring Air Force Base. And in subsequent years, when I was a young boy, I remember going back there and attending functions with my family. In Limestone, for someone that came from either the town of Allagash or the town of St. Francis, I lived in both of them periodically throughout my younger years. A place like Limestone was a big deal. It's a big place for me. And unfortunately, that has changed, obviously, with the removal of Limestone Air Force Base, Loring Air Force Base. And the area is not what I remembered as a child, which is unfortunate, but the school is a big deal. It's a huge deal for the area. And you hear people that attended the school that are not from Aroostook County talk about how, the education they received there was excellent, but being in Limestone was a big part of what helped them, do as well as they did with their educational process. I've heard that consistently from people that have attended the school. And, there's no doubt that I'm sure some of you may have heard, had some conversations with people about magnet school in Limestone and moving it, which I think is really unfortunate. It's done so well despite the state's inattention to it. I believe, and people that have attended there believe, because of as much a part of where it's at and the atmosphere in the community being part of the rich process that's there. And so, I would, obviously I'm biased. I represent that area, but if you look at the results of what has happened there, I think it's undeniable that it does very, very well. And it's probably time that the state did more to make sure that it continues to be the shining example, the gold standard across the state and across this country. That's why I feel very strongly about this bond. If you go to the facility, they've done well, but they need upgrades. They need upgrades to have more people attend. They're at their maximum capacity. And this would allow more students to come if they wanted to. And that's why I feel it's a very strong proposal to finally put some investment in the school. And I just further end with, there's a lot of talk at times about two mains, things like that. Some of it real, a lot of it not at all, a lot of it, imagined. But I think some of the turmoil that's happening right now certainly lends some credit to people's belief that there is two mains. I've certainly tried to push back against that. I have people throughout Southern Maine that have helped me more than anything to try and do things for my district. And so I know we're one Maine, but this idea that the magnet school should leave Aroostook County so it could reach its full potential when everything already shows that it's doing so great, despite the state not actually doing as much as it probably should have throughout the years. So that's why I'm very passionate, probably more so than even last year when I presented this bill. I think it's time. I think it's time that the state makes more due on its commitment. I think the school's already shown, like I said, that it's doing extremely well in spite of not having the resources that it probably should have. Anywhere else, any other state would be putting a lot more into an institution that has shown itself to be so great as the magnet school. So that's why I put the bill in. That's why I'm hopeful that the committee can see its way to supporting it. And I'll certainly try and answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are there any questions from the committee for Senator Jackson? Not seeing any. So I'm going to ask folks in the attendee list if there's anybody here in attendance who, oh, I see Representative McCray is here with his hand up. So Representative McCray, I will move you over to a panelist. There he is. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for that lift. I hope it wasn't too much. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, folks. I appreciate this opportunity. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and the other members of AFA. I am Representative David McCray, and I do represent the good people of District 148, which does include and encompass Maine MSSM. I am in strong support of this bill, as that should come as no surprise to you. I am a former teacher. I spent my entire 48-year career in the neighboring town of Fort Fairfield. I was very much aware of how this school got its start. The impetus came when Loring Air Force Base pulled out, leaving Limestone High School with going from a school of perhaps between 400 and 500 students to a school of perhaps 100. Limestone is not a big town, but Loring Air Force Base made it a big town and made it so that it had a lot of students. Well, there they were. Well, I had a lot of friends and colleagues in the school system, in management, in administration, and a lot of people in Limestone kind of feeling at the time that the sky is falling. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do to support our school, to keep the school here, to keep it viable? And some core of educators came across the idea of let's explore how to set up a world-class school, a STEM school. STEM, I don't think was even really invented 26 years ago. I think that's a relatively new term, but it was a STEM school. And I know several people that were on that foundational group, and they traveled all over the country. I was kind of envious of the trips that they got to take because it was kind of on the federal dime to explore those possibilities because of the closure of Loring. And they went on junkets all over the place and came back with this fantastic model for a school. Worked tirelessly to put it in place. So I guess that's the history. And I was around. I sent kids there. They always came back, Mr. McCray, this is the greatest place. And it's a very special kind of kid that wants to go to a place like that. And it's sort of a birds of a feather flock together kind of place. So anyway, that's the history. It has been declared the #2 high school in the country. And over the last 10 years or so, it has been in the top 100 schools. So I'm going to ask that you, as members, consider how many schools that might be that it is chosen number 2 out of. And I would appreciate it if somebody would ask me at the end of this, how many high schools are there in the country? Because I did the research, I didn't know. Okay, so anyway, it's a magnificent school. The entire state is proud of it. You can't go anywhere in the state and talk to educators or parents that won't say, oh my God, I can't believe that this great school is in our state, let alone in Aroostook County. I have always felt since it began that it became such a great success, not in spite of the fact that it was up in Limestone, Maine, but rather because it's in Limestone, Maine. The distractions there are not the same as they would be in a more urban center, for sure. And I've talked with numerous students that would support that feeling. I have to say that the state has not provided the financial support that would have kept the facility in great shape. I think it's high time that that happens. Especially over the last few years, they've been flat funded. I think I heard somewhere from people that were in the know that it's been kind of flat funded for the last 6 years. Well, hardly any institution of any type can go 6 years flat funded and not see the difference, the problems. I do see this bond proposal as the first and foundational step for the state to make in moving this school into the facility that this great school deserves to be in. They are great in spite of the fact that that hasn't happened. Think about that, okay? They are that great a school, and the facility, if you were to visit it, you'd say, really, how do they become such a great school with the spot that they're in? And it's time that they're in a better spot in Limestone, but it's the facility, it isn't the location. Okay, so I think this dormitory proposal is timely. It is long overdue, for that matter, and I would like to see this committee support the bond proposal, and then we'll go to making sure that it passes. So I would appreciate you asking any questions you care to ask of me. Thank you very much for the time.
Looks like Representative Arata has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question's either for Representative McCray or Senator Jackson. I was on the construction committee for the State Board of Education, and so it's been a few years. I'm a little familiar with that process. Is this school involved in being ranked and then applying for funding for construction within the same process that all the other public schools in the state are a part of? Do you know?
I'll jump in, but maybe Senator Jackson would have a better feel for that. I'm quite intimately involved with the situation as it currently stands, and I have not heard anything about the ability to get on the school reconstruction list or construction list. I'm also on the education committee, and I think with some of the discussions that have happened, I probably would have heard of that, but Representative, I appreciate the question. It makes me kind of wonder. I will check that, but my guess is that it's not, for whatever reason.
That's a guess, so I won't hold you to it.
Okay, thank you.
We can probably find that out through our office.
Good.
You know, ask Rachel Tremblay in OFPR to figure that out for us. Looks like Senator Jackson is back on. Did you want to address that question, Senator Jackson?
Well, I think Senator Breen, that your recommendation would probably be best. I think because the school shares its space with Limestone High School, I don't think they have that ability because they don't actually own the space. Limestone High School would have to go through that. So it's I think probably not allowed for the magnet school, but the dorm is theirs. And obviously the children are there obviously for, weeks on end and need a facility to stay at. And that's why it's important in this case to have something more appropriate for them. But I don't think it's allowed, and you certainly can check that out.
Because there's a pretty robust process through which the schools apply and then are evaluated, and then the funding is given to the schools that have the most need. And then, of course, the community has to vote to approve it and contribute a share. But yeah, I'd be interested in knowing how this school participates in the process, if at all. Thank you.
I think we might be hearing from some other people who are testifying who might be able to answer that question too.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Representative McCray, is there something else you wanted to say?
Yes, I just want to remind the committee that this has to do with, MSSM is a residential school. Kids stay there. They need a dormitory. This isn't, that school revolving fund probably wouldn't address dormitories in the first place. And just because I don't think anybody else has asked, the number of high schools in the United States is 27,000. And MSSM is number 2 on that list. So I was quite impressed when I saw that number. Had to tell you.
Thank you. All right, we have a few other folks in line to testify. So if you are here and you'd like to speak on this bill, please raise your hand in the attendee panel. And Representative McCray, I'm going to send you back over to attendee land. Thank you for joining us. And I see Grayson Orn, so I'm going to move Grayson Orn over to the panel.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Senator Breen, Representative Pierce, and honorable members of this Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. My name is Grayson Orn, and I'm a student member of the State Board of Education, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of the State Board in support of LD 21. The State Board strongly endorses this bill and encourages a broad-based ought to pass vote in support of Maine's Magnet School for Math and Science. While I'm a member of the board, I'm also a student at the Maine School of Science and Math. I am a junior. I've been there for 3 years. And in these years, I've had the privilege of working with some of the best students in the state and some of the greatest educators that we have. I'm friends with students leading research projects at universities across the country. I know students who attend the schools in the Ivy League, some of the greatest schools in the University of California system, Northwestern, really any of these top universities in the state. I'm even friends with one of the youngest presidential electors in history, Jay Philbrick, who graduated in the class of 2020. For a school of only 125 nestled within walking distance to the Canadian border, I believe this is frankly pretty incredible. However, as a student body, we often feel quite overlooked by the state and sometimes other banners. We were ranked second in the nation just 2 short years ago, yet we're forced to operate in just one academic building in a school that, one academic wing in a school shared by a local elementary school. Our dormitory, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it used to be the Limestone Middle School prior to the closing of Loring, and it's just in some aspects deteriorating while we're there. There have been multiple occasions in my time at MSSM where pipes have burst, flooding the rooms of students with scalding water. Bathrooms become flooded. The mail rooms become flooded once. On occasion, electrical outlets in our lower lounge where we often do homework have just fallen out of the wall. Last year, we had a gas leak randomly, and I had to evacuate the dorm for a few hours. The first sentence of our mission statement states that the Maine School of Science and Mathematics brings together and helps a group of Maine's most academically and motivated high school students become innovative, well-rounded scholars with the ability to develop, investigate, and communicate critical ideas that improve the human condition and benefit the state of Maine. By chaining ourselves to deteriorating, aging buildings, we are actively disregarding the mission of our school as we are discouraging applications of new students who may benefit benefit from an education here and as such benefit the state of Maine in the future. The state of our facilities is quite often a reason that students choose not to apply, at least some students that I have from my area that I have talked to. And this, I don't believe I'm the best to speak on affairs with faculty, but in my discussions with some of them, we have had certain faculty applicants who just choose not to apply to the school due to its facilities. This school is a haven for Maine's best and brightest, and we are doing them a disservice, and we are doing the state a disservice if our facilities cannot keep in line with the magnitude of the students we have here. I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have, and I'll hopefully be available for work sessions on the bill if necessary.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee for Grayson? Not seeing any. So thank you so much for joining us. And just make sure you submit your testimony, through the online portal. Great. I'm going to send you back to attendee land. And see if there's anyone else who wants to testify on this, who is in attendance. I don't see any other hands up, so I will just ask last call for folks. Oh, it looks like Alan Whittemore is here and wants to speak. So I will admit you into the panel now. Good morning. You want to turn on your camera so we can see your face?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, there it is. You'd think I'd be used to Zoom by now.
Welcome.
Thank you. Senator Breen, Representative Pearson, members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I am a Mainer, otherwise known as a maniac. I grew up in the great town of Rumford and was at the University of Maine admissions office when an ad in the paper back in 1994 was soliciting an admissions director at the Maine School of Science and Math. I applied, and that was the beginning of my journey into boarding school admissions. Under the tutelage of Jim Patterson, what we refer to as the founder of this school. As the first employee tasked with attracting the first class of MSS students to Limestone, I began referring to the perspectives as pioneers. It was a fitting moniker then and remains so today. Why? Considering the unique geography of Maine, the vast majority of Mainers have never ventured to Aroostook County. I mean, never. If I could rely on the use of a meme, most Mainers, even the native, have an image of Bangor as being northern Maine. Anything farther north is either the uncivilized territory used for logging, all due respect to Senator Jackson, and there's a big mountain stuck out there somewhere, and then a small sliver of land reserved for the potato farmer. Oh, by the way, there's lots of snow year round, just as it's doing so out my window. But for the 15-year-old who chooses to give up all that is familiar in their lives, their parents, the dog, the neighborhood, their best friend down the street, their neighbors, to leave everything that is comfortable and known to them solely for the primary purpose to be challenged requires a certain chutzpah. It is the special sauce that I often hear that why is it so successful up here in Limestone? And as Representative McCray said, it's because of the location, not in spite of it. For many of the students, it was the first time ever to come to Limestone, either for the open house or for summer camp. Nearly half of the current students, student body attended at least 1 week of MSSM's STEM summer camp. To most, a summer camp based primarily on education would not fit. I didn't want to. I don't normally testify. The definition of summer camp. but not true for over 500 students each summer for the past 25 years, including virtually so during the last summer during the pandemic. In Limestone, whether it's a middle schooler at our camp or later on as a newly enrolled high school student, MSSM marked the beginning of a modern day adventure for over 1,000 graduates so far during the past 27 years. They are risk takers who deliberately seek a path most find less than appealing. The result, a bonding greater than even the most traditional boarding school, a consistently nationally ranked in the top 100 secondary schools. You've heard that we're second in the nation. They rely on one another as they live under one roof, although that one roof has had its issues, as our student representative just testified. And most of our faculty do have housing here on Trafton Avenue. There are 13 houses now, and they are surviving under some of the most brutal winters that Maine has to offer. We don't have snow days up here. We all live on campus for the most part, and this cannot be replicated anywhere else. It would not work. The location is the special sauce. The school is residential only, even for residents of Limestone. This ensures that it is the main school of science and mathematics where everyone is treated the same in the admission process. Consistently, all 16 counties are represented from Kittery to Freiburg to Lubec to Fort Kent. To be located in a small town helps those scholars from equally small towns to consider attending and not be intimidated by a large metropolitan landscape or campus. And without its myriad of distractions. The students here consider one another not by the style of their clothes or bank account, but by what they can bring to the classroom discussion or to the study group or to each other. It is a unique environment that simply can't be replicated. We opened with 135 students in the fall of 1995. In the same dormitory that was a school building reconfigured into a dormitory. We are consistently at 130 students. Now because of COVID and because of quality of life, we've had to use quads and triples. Our residential staff have no separate entrances to the school, and they've been with us. Many of them, a majority of them, have been with us for going on 8-9 years. So their quality of life would also be affected, as well as the students. So I really, again, appreciate the time you've given me and consideration for Senator Jackson's bill, and it's great to see Representative Martin, who was part of opening the school some 27 years ago. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Whittemore. Are there any questions from the committee for Mr. Whittemore?
Senator Breen, this is John. I'd like to make a couple of comments when you get a chance.
Sure thing. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Whittemore? Representative Millett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was curious, Mr. Whittemore, if you could comment on how the unique situation that you're in have coped with the COVID virus in terms of in-person learning and vaccination rates and masking and so on during the previous academic year that ended just early in the pandemic and the year that we're now in. Have you been able to continue to have in-person instruction throughout, or have you had to modify it?
Thank you for asking. This is a testament to our students of being willing to adhere to the guidelines of the state and national CDC. We have been running in a cohort situation, roughly splitting the population, the dormitory population, in halves at 6-week intervals. We're excited that this last upcoming, we're now in the middle of April vacation, this last 5-week stint, we'll be bringing everyone back on campus. We've had testing we require before they enter the dormitory to provide much like the University of Maine system, to provide a negative COVID test result. we took the students that are 16 years of age and older over to NMCC that has this clinic for the vaccination. We adhere to all the masking, including outdoors, even when they were playing intramural sports or whatnot. Obviously in the buildings, and they are divided up into cohorts where they have to exercise social distancing. Our meals are the dining hall is spaced out. So we've been successful. We did have only 2 cases that in the middle of the big one, the January surge after the holidays, and that was it. It didn't spread any further. We didn't have any outbreak. And that was because, quite frankly, these students, in my opinion, care so much about this experience that they were, if they were willing to give up, as I mentioned earlier, everything back home to come here, they were willing to adhere to the necessity to keep the pandemic under control. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for your response.
Any other questions for Mr. Whittemore? All right, thank you for joining us. And Representative Martin, why don't you turn on your video if you can and make your comments.
Yeah, the host had blocked me off of the video, so, but I can do the.
Oh, now you're on mute.
So I'm fine now. Okay, let me just be very brief. At this point, probably you'll hear more from me in Appropriations Committee, but as Mr. Whittemore pointed out, I was involved in when the school was created. The sponsor of the legislation was a former Sue Pines, who passed away last year, and she was a driving force. And it was a result of the closure of the base. With all of a sudden, we have all these buildings. Of course, some of which we still own as a state, and we haven't quite figured out what to do with some of those. But what Port Fairfield, of course, they had this beautiful high school that the federal government built, and then they had this available space that could be used for housing. And that's how it evolved into what became MSSM. One of the five, it's all been pointed out, it's one of the best in the country. And it is, I think, in part because of its location. It's away from any things that can happen near a city or whatever. And it is a best location. And for those students who've gone there, they will tell you basically how successful they've been as a result of that. And I think I do want to point out to Representative Herrera that this request is not for a building, because the building is fine, the school building is fine. And so this basically would be for dormitory space, and which of course is not covered by the legislation that the Department of Education has. And so we can talk more about that as we get to work session. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Martin. Any questions from the committee for Representative Martin? All right, well, we know where to find you if we do. So is there anyone else in the attendee list who would like to testify on LD 21? If so, please put your hand up, your electronic hand up. I'm not seeing any, so I think I will close the public hearing for LD 21, and thank you all for joining us today. We are going to move on to our second presiding officer and that bond proposal. Today we have, I don't know if Representative Fecto is here, Speaker Fecto, but he should be here shortly if not. And we will be hearing from him on his bond proposal, which is LD 298. And then we'll be hearing from our own Representative Millett on LD 702. So we will give the speaker a minute or two to join us, and hopefully we'll be here He will be here soon. I'm actually going to take a quick break from my office and I will be right back.
I see that the speaker has joined us, so we'll bring him over as a panelist.
If you want to go ahead, Representative Person, start. I'll be right back.
Great. Look forward to your return. Thank you. Speaker Fecto, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. I am Ryan Fecto, and I represent part of my hometown of Biddeford. I also have the distinct honor of serving as Speaker of the House. Today, I am proud to present LD 298, an act to authorize a general fund bond issue to fund capital improvements in equipment for career and technical education centers and regions to prepare students to join Maine's workforce. A big mouthful of a title for a bill. Any homeowner in search of a plumber or driver in need of a mechanic understands the critical workforce shortages that exist in our state. Constituents tell me about the challenges of finding an electrician or contractor to perform small tasks in their homes. I'm sure you've heard the same. During bouts of particularly cold weather, we have heard of oil delivery companies struggling to keep up, not because they lack supply, but rather because they lack drivers. Our state sorely needs well-trained workers in many sectors. Our public education system has 28 CTE schools with an expansive reach. You can find CTE centers in nearly every corner of Maine, from Farmington to Calais and Biddeford to Frenchville. Students from those towns and cities, as well as surrounding communities, benefit from their offerings. Maine CTE centers are preparing our students for well-paid, in-demand jobs. Whether it be a student who aspires to be a welder, a nurse, a computer programmer, or an electrician, the CTE system offers Maine students the training they need to be successful. We have the infrastructure, we have dedicated educators and driven students, but in order to meet the needs of our students and our economy, we need to ensure the equipment and infrastructure at these locations are foremost maintained, repaired, or replaced. That means investing in equipment and capital improvements. Last year, I connected with CTE centers across the state to assess their capital needs. From Sanford to Presque Isle, it became clear that CTE centers are in severe need of investment. For example, the Oxford Hills Technical Center in Norway is looking to add a much-needed welding program, which means investing roughly $500,000 in equipment and updating a space to suit the program's needs. Region 2 School in Holton needs updated equipment for its forestry program, including a processor, forwarder, and a skidder. We all know how important the forest products sector is to our rural economy, and this equipment, crucial to training students for today's industry, will run them more than almost $2 million. Extrapolate this need across the state, and it is clear to me that we must take immediate action to invest in our CTE schools. I am confident that this investment will yield high returns for our students and our economy and our workforce. Many of the careers that our CTEs specialize in are high paying. Welders, HVAC installers, machinists, and licensed practical nurses all have median incomes over $40,000. This investment in our CTE system is not merely an investment in equipment. It will serve as a catalyst for economic activity. This is also an investment that will help Maine meet our workforce demands. According to the Maine Department of Labor, by 2028, Maine will need nearly 200 welders, 287 electricians, 700 carpenters, and over 900 nurses. Maine has a workforce shortage, and bolstering our state CTEs will simultaneously bolster our workforce development pipeline. Maine CTE schools are invaluable resources, and with the investment proposed in LD 298, they can train a new generation prepared to meet the technological advancements in many careers throughout our state. Thank you for the consideration. I am happy to answer any questions. One thing that was not included in my testimony that I would note is the last time we sent a bond to voters to invest in our CTE schools was 1998. I like to joke that at the time I was 6 years old. I think it's well past time that we make this crucial investment in these schools so that they can make an investment in our students and thus make an investment in our economy. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We appreciate your testimony. Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none. Thank you so much.
See you all later.
Senator Breen, would you like to take back the role, or do you want me to continue?
Why don't you just continue
I'll finish this one. How's that?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we have a couple people, if you're attending this meeting and you'd like to speak on this bill, I'd ask you to raise your hand in our attendee system. You go to the lower part and then we'll call you over. I see Wilson Hess has asked to speak. And so you're coming over through the ether. Did we lose him somewhere? Oh, there we go. Maybe. There we are. Wilson Hess, are you with us? There we are.
I think I'm with you now. Representative Peirce, thank you. I think you're sitting in the chair if I've been keeping track of things, and Senator Breen and distinguished members of the committee. I apologize. I'm working on two computers and trying to do a state board committee meeting and keep track of your important work. So thank you. I realize I can't speak in regards to LD 21, but I was so grateful that we had our student members speak, and thank you for entertaining that. My name is Wilson Hess. I'm chair of the State Board of Education, here today to speak on behalf of the board in support of LD 298, an act authorized general fund bond issue to fund capital improvements and equipment for career and technical education centers and regions to prepare students for Maine's workforce. State Board of Education has specific interest in career and technical education. We serve as the state agency for administering federal funds for construction of schools and facilities and career and technical education. And we also administer any federal funds received for the benefit of career and technical education programs in the state, and specifically that refers to federal so-called Perkins 5 funds. In 2020, after a year-long review, we received federal approval for a 5-year state plan under Perkins 5 for career and technical education in the state. Today, I would like to share 4 observations with the Joint Committee in regards to LD 298. One, as Speaker Fetko so ably demonstrated, there's great need. Maine's population has the highest median age in the country, as you're well aware. The working age population has already begun to shrink due to high numbers of retiring baby boomers, people who have hair this color of mine, and low numbers of young people entering the job market. Today, there are unfilled jobs at middle-class pay scales all around the state, even in our most rural areas. The reason these jobs are unfilled is that many potential job applicants don't have the minimum skills necessary for entry, skills which our high school CTE programs can provide. Second point, we know the greatest areas of needs. The job sectors that are in demand now and are projected to be in demand in Maine for the next 10 years include things like computer analysis, construction engineering, healthcare, hospitality, manufacturing, transportation, all areas which our CTE programs can help provide qualified candidates for. Third point, the state board is setting the roadmap for the future. As mentioned before in the Perkins 5 plan, the state board's strategic goals have been recognized to advance CTE to extend programs into 9th and 10th grade, to bring CTE explorations into the middle school, and to try to provide more funds for direct instruction. Of the $6.5 roughly $1 million that Maine will receive next year in Perkins funds, 85% goes directly to local CTEs and our 7 community colleges, much of which is the primary source of equipment for the recipients. Perkins monies are the major source of equipment funding for our 27 CTE schools. And I believe, again, Speaker Fetko did a very good job explaining some of that need. But our 4th point is indeed that keeping facilities and equipment in education aligned to current industry standards, which is critical for CTEs, is an enormous expense in which we fall further behind every year. To illustrate, I just very briefly give you a couple of examples. Just one automotive facility would cost about $5 million. And its equipment would cost nearly $500,000 more. Likewise, just one nursing healthcare facility costs about $200,000, and a single low-end patient stimulator, also known in the trade as a sim man or sim woman or sim baby, cost between $50,000 and $70,000. With a total of 23 programs which fall into 10 career clusters offered across Maine's 27 CTE centers and regions, the cost of meeting industry standards in secondary CTE is far beyond the current capacity of our EPS funding cycle, our local resources, and the Perkins allocations. So we want to be able to keep pace with trends in our existing programs. We want our students to be well prepared to be part of a 21st century workforce. The need is great for a statewide CTE capacity that can truly address our present and future workforce needs. The state board believes that LD 298 provides an important step forward in that regard. We strongly support LD 298, encourage and ought to pass. Be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Are there any questions for Mr. Hess? I do not see any. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else with their hand raised in our attendee section to comment on this bill. I'll just give it a minute to see if anyone else would like to comment. Seeing none, then I will close the public hearing on LD 298, and I'll turn the gavel back over to my good co-chair.
Thank you very much, Representative Peirce. Our next bill is LD 702, brought to us today by our own Representative Millett. So I will open the public hearing now for LD 702, and Representative Millett, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's actually LD 481, but I will.
Pardon me.
I think I am up.
That was quick.
481, correct?
I apologize. I misspoke. We are going to do the public hearing for LD 481. I had the wrong Representative Millett on my paper. So LD 481 is Representative Sowen Millett, and that is the public hearing that we are beginning right now. So I apologize for my mistake, and Representative Millett, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Education, on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. I am Sowen Millett of Waterford. I represent House District 71. I'm pleased this morning to present LD 481, an act to propose a general fund bond issue to train workers in high demand sectors and to support the state's 10-year economic plan goal of increasing wages by 10%. That economic development plan and strategy lays out a focus on talent and innovation over the 2020-29 decade. And it is designed to do three things, but two of them directly relate to the bill in front of you. One is to attract 75,000 people to Maine's talent pool and to grow the annual wages by 10% over that decade. That goal of adding 75,000 skilled and talented workers to our workforce over this decade confirms the findings of several other recent studies that are projecting a similar shortage of skilled workers to meet the changing labor market demands in the near term, meaning within this decade as soon as 2028. That shortage, as we all know, and has been referred to by previous speakers, is a result of obvious changes in the demographics of the current workforce and the job market changes that we are all experiencing, in particular during the pandemic year that we've just been through. This critical need for a bold investment in workforce development was also cited in the November 2020 report of the Economic Recovery Committee, which recommended a talent development initiative to, quote, unleash the potential of Maine's workforce by creating educational and training pathways for people of all experience levels to access careers in high demand fields. I think that statement is a good umbrella for the purposes behind the bill that I'm presenting, because it is both education and training, and it is for long-term career development. Also, the need for the workforce investment or an investment during this legislative period was acknowledged by the Governor Mills, in a recent State of the State address, and the annual measures of growth reports that we see each year has repeatedly assigned a red flag designation to the decline of Maine's working age population percentage, which has now fallen below the US average of just over 60%. Last August, after receiving an off-cycle report from our Consensus Economic Forecasting Commission during July, and a follow-up report from the Revenue Forecasting Committee at the end of that month, both of which captured the negative effects of the COVID pandemic on our Maine economy and projected general fund revenue declines of a significant magnitude. Right after getting those reports, I came up with an idea, and I decided to approach David Degler, the president of the Maine Community College System, or MCCS, and sought his advice as to how MCCS might be able to assist in crafting a response to this critical and looming workforce development challenge. This bond proposal is the product of those conversations. We wanted to launch a multi-year program building on recent and previous accomplishments that MCCS has made in meeting similar workforce development challenges of an urgent nature. A couple of examples that identify both the reference to recent and previous. We're all aware, I think, of the work of the community colleges at all 7 locations to do doing free training through the Maine Quality Centers and funding that we've provided them to provide this training on a short-term turnaround basis. I think we, last March 17th, those members of the 129th legislature will recall that in negotiating the elements of the supplemental budget at that time, we agreed on 2 workforce development initiatives as qualifying for supplemental funding. And again, I would say during the course of the 2020 pandemic year, all of us are familiar with the effect of MCCS's work with the Puritan Medical Products firm in Guilford, which developed and produced the swabs for testing for COVID. And I think we also know that many other industries in Maine were responsible during the pandemic for redesigning their equipment and manufacturing capacity to deal with production of other forms of personal protective equipment. The previous one that I referred to there as a personal connection for me, and I think Representative Martin would remember it too, in the mid to late 80s, the 70s, there was a significant employer in Southern York County that closed up, laying off hundreds of employees in that Southern Maine economy. It happened that the Pratt & Whitney aircraft operations, then based in Connecticut, became aware of that event and aware of the facility that had been vacated, approached then Governor Jim Longley and asked if they might come into that site and employ an extended amount or number of machinists and welders and other people they need in their craft if we could assist them in a training effort. The governor, I was Commissioner of Education at the time, asked if we had any resources within our education system. It happened that there were people at the Southern Maine Vocational Technical Institute at the time that were skilled in these short-term delivery training programs. With Pratt & Whitney funding most of the cost, we developed a very quick and very comprehensive training program that operated out of Sanford with hundreds of potential employees for these jobs that were being promised by Pratt & Whitney. That came to fruition in a very short period of time. The Pratt & Whitney facility in North Berwick is still functioning today. And I have done some real rough math over the years to think about how much of a contribution that has made to the Maine economy over the nearly 43 years since it was operationalized. It is huge because these are good paying jobs. They provided career opportunities for people to live in Maine and raise their families here and have been major contributors to the economy that we are seeing today. There are other events that I could refer to, but I would also make knowledge or reference to something we haven't dealt with as a committee yet, but in the report back of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee, there is a recommendation for an infusion of new money to support this kind of activity, building on an Alphon grant that has been in place and utilized by the community colleges over the last couple of years. And I think that President Daigle will make reference to that. Today, in the backdrop of the bonds that we're hearing now and the issue of timing and critical importance that I associate with this bill, I think that both President Daigle and I would agree that the need to do something is more immediate than a November bond question would satisfy. Further, the opportunity to use potential, yet to be defined, yet to be interpreted, one-time funding sources using either state, federal, or both types of sources opens the door for making a bold funding commitment this session. I actually believe that there are multiple cabinet agencies right now that are poised to play an important role in doing a redesign of this proposal into a more immediate commitment of resources, including such agencies as DHHS with their substantial interest in the healthcare community. And we've heard references this morning already to the nursing shortages, the Department of Education, both K-12 and the career and technical centers, as well as higher ed, DECD with their oversight of the strategic plan and their commitment to a 10-year plan, Department of Labor with its labor economists and its access to the numbers of high demand labor sectors that we ought to be focusing on, the Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry for a focus on the food industry issues that we heard about a bond bill on earlier this week that I think reference changes within the agricultural world that we might incorporate here as well. Obviously, the infrastructure issues in transportation and other departments of state government could be helpful in identifying the most critical, sequential, high-demand job sectors, and could be supportive of undertaking this magnitude and important undertaking that I'm talking about today. It could result in a unique opportunity for a high-level legislative executive partnership that could lead to generational improvements in the Maine economy of the future, as well as enhancing career opportunities for present and future Maine skilled workers and the families that they will support for years to come. I look forward to working with my AFA colleagues, other legislators, and executive branch supporters in the redesign and enactment of this important initiative. I thank you for your time and attention, and I know President Degler can expand upon my comments in terms of the modifications of the bond bill that is before you and maybe a more intensive and immediate approach. You might sense in the bill's content my interest in looking at bonds from the point of view of having regular reportings on the outcomes of the investments. And my goal of having those reports get public attention, wherein the bill asks that we get annual reports of the progress made, the numbers of skilled workers trained, to the Departments of Labor and to the Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. But given the immediacy of the need, I would recommend that this not be considered as a bond subject, but one of more immediate importance for us to consider and talk through in the weeks to come. So thank you for your attention this morning.
Thank you, Representative Millett. Any questions from the committee for Representative Millett? All right, not seeing any at the moment. I will ask folks who are here in the attendee list to raise their hand. I see President Degler of the Community College System, and I will move you over now to the panelist.
Senate, whoa, here we go.
Good morning. If you'd like to turn on your camera, there you go. Thank you. Good morning and welcome.
Right. Thank you. There's always that moment of panic when you move and all of a sudden the screen has just gone blank on you.
Yes, so. We identify with that, but you're set and we are all ears.
All right, well, Senator Breen, Representative Pierce, members of the Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. I am, as has been stated, David Degler, President of the Maine Community College System. And I am here to testify in support of LD 481. The bill itself is an act to propose a general fund bond issue to train workers in high demand sectors and support the state's 10-year economic plan goal of increasing wages by 10%. I think we want to focus on that aspect of the title that says train workers in high demand sectors and support the state's 10-year economic plan goal of increasing wages by 10%. First, I do want to thank Representative Millett for his bold vision, and as importantly, his desire to assure that all Maine people have access to the training they need to succeed and to thrive. This bill seeks funding for our shared goal of increasing wages for all Maine citizens and building a robust and sustainable economy. Now, I'm sure you all had your own reasons for running for the legislature, but I'm willing to bet most of you were inspired to run because you wanted to help shape the future of Maine. Your time has come. As crippling as this pandemic has been, we're at an inflection point, a point where lasting and meaningful change is possible. The investment we are proposing here is bold, and it is necessary. If you listen to my State of MCCS address, you're aware of the stark changes our economy is experiencing. People with skills, or what I call earning power, have great opportunities. But people without skills, the skills our economy demands, are destined to prolong unemployment. As I reported in the State of MCCS address, low-wage, low-skilled jobs are slipping away, and they're not coming back. The bold investment proposed by Representative Millett provides an opportunity to reskill Maine's workforce. It is consistent with the goals of the 10-year economic plan and the recommendations of the Economic Recovery Committee. Now, you've seen the wisdom of these investments. They came with your decision when you last year during the pandemic, as it was beginning, as the pandemic was just breaking out, and you had to cut the 129th legislative session short. That investment allowed us to respond whenever Maine's economy needed our help. Now is the time for a really bold move. A move that can set Maine up for a prosperous future. Now, fortunately, and Representative Millett referred to this, MCCS is 2+ years into a Harold L. Foundation grant that has allowed us to build our workforce development capacity. We now have the systems in place to step up high-impact short-term training programs at each of the 7 colleges. That infrastructure has enabled the colleges to be responsive and to bring training programs to scale very quickly. Representative Millett referred to Puritan Medical Products. We began hearing about them just about 1 year ago right now. Since Puritan announced its expansion, MCCS has developed new training programs for 1,200 new Puritan employees in medical swab technician. These are good jobs in a part of the state that needs an economic boost. Over this past year, your community colleges have provided powerful examples time and time again of their ability to work closely with industry and develop the training that delivers the skilled workforce employers need. We do so quickly and reliably, but we're not cutting corners. We're focused on building a complete portfolio of skills necessary to be successful. We've streamlined that training, tailored it to high demand areas, and moved with agility at the speed of business to benefit both the workers and the employers of this state. The investment that Representative Millett proposed would train between 4,000 and 5,000 Mainers each year for the next 4 years, 20,000 Mainers in all. It is an investment. The increase in wages will generate income for Mainers that benefit from our training and new tax revenues for the state. The investment is returned to the state treasury within 3 years. It supports businesses in all areas of the state and in all economic sectors. It will support workforce expansion to meet the state's climate plan goals. It promotes short-term training for healthcare jobs like CNAs, LPNs, medical assistants, and more. We can deliver training to advance our manufacturing industry, allowing our manufacturers to fill orders that their competitors in other states cannot. We can continue to make progress in the hospitality industry, progress advanced during the pandemic that is attracting more people to our state. We can continue our work within K-12 in the local school districts, building a workforce that can ensure our youngest Mainers stay on track. And we can continue supporting professional loggers, as well as the development of a robust aquaculture industry, and build the administrative skills needed for work in the modern office. Now, we realized your time is short today, and we've talked with our partners, and we candidly ask them to respect your time today. You will be hearing from them. They're very anxious to work with you. Over the next few weeks, as you seek and gain clarity around Maine's current revenue picture and the incoming federal aid, the businesses we work with want to make sure the need for investments in workforce development are in clear focus. With that, I'll leave you with one final thought. Maine has an incredible opportunity. More than any time in our history, the economy is in transition. Our unemployment lines are filled with people who lack the skills that are needed in the modern economy. If we can deliver the skills to Maine people, skills that give them traction in the economy, we can lift their lives. We can make our businesses more competitive, and we can elevate our economy for generations to come. let's not miss our shot. Thank you.
Thank you, President Dagler. Any questions from the committee? I see Representative Hymanson.
Hi, thanks for being here, talking about this important issue. The students who you would draw for these programs, where will they come from, both in and out of state, and how would you attract them into the programs?
We are attracting them. We work with our partner at the Department of Labor. We put out advertisements and we work within the communities. One of the benefit of the community colleges is that they're very embedded in their communities. We have not had trouble filling the training programs.
Okay, I guess that's my question. Do you anticipate that you would have trouble filling these programs?
No. People recognize that they need skills to transition into the new economy. And the economy is changing very rapidly, and it's becoming a skill-based economy. And people recognize that, and they have come to us. We've worked very closely with our business partners, and oftentimes the business partners are prepared to pay a stipend during the training period so that the trainees have some wages or some form of income so that they can provide for their families. And that gives them the traction they need to get the training and get to a job.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. You know, down here, working with York County Community College and Pratt & Whitney and the CTE Center and school in Samford, I'm aware of how that's working, which is terrific. We just need more people, more warm bodies in this state who are moving in here. So I wonder if there is a way to attract people who are out of state to come here for these opportunities. And do you see that as being something that would happen?
I see that, and I think we are seeing that. One of the things that's happened during the pandemic is Maine has developed a reputation, a brand for being a healthy place to live. And if we continue to build that brand and offer a strong, vital economy, it will start to attract people into our state. That economic boost, that opportunity to get a high-paying job will be important to attract people, and they will come. And they're coming now.
Mm-hmm. Are there places for people to live as they train around the community colleges?
The training so we have provided some living stipends, and there are opportunities for them. Our residence halls during the pandemic were sparsely populated just for safety reasons, and we'll be expanding our residence hall populations when we come into session this fall.
Thank you.
Any other questions for President Dagler? All right, don't see any, but we certainly know where to find you if we need you.
And look me up.
Thank you very much. I'm going to send you back to attendee land.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the attendee panel who wants to speak on this bill, LD 481? If so, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any. So if there is no further comment on LD 481, I think I will close the public hearing for that bill. And we will move on now to LD 702, Representative Rebecca Millette, who is here in attendee land. So we're gonna move her over and have you join us and introduce your bill. All right, there's Representative Millette. Sorry to mangle that. Formerly Senator, now Representative Millette, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much, Senator. Good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and distinguished members of the Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. I am Representative Rebecca Millett, representing District 30, which is most of Cape Elizabeth. And I'm pleased to present LD 702, an act to authorize a general fund bond issue to recapitalize the School Revolving Renovation Fund. The School Revolving Renovation Fund, or SRRF, provides loans to school administrative units to finance project expenditures. A portion of each loan is considered a grant and is forgiven. The forgiveness rate ranges from 30% to 70% and is based on the percentage of state subsidy paid to the local SAU. The remaining balance of the loan is paid back over either 5 or 10 years at a 0% interest rate. The loan repayments revolve back into the SRRF and are then used to fund other approved projects. And the maximum loan that can be provided is capped at $1 million per priority per school building within any 5-year period. The SRRF was developed in 1999 based on the recommendations of the Commission on School Facilities, including providing $200 million over 5 years to address our schools' aging facilities and antiquated systems. In contrast, roughly $175 million was made available over 20 years. The last biennial budget did include $18 million from the general fund, and all of that remains is roughly $1 million, a number so low that the department is not accepting applications. Without any new infusion of capital, the department estimates that it could take 3 to 4 years before it holds another application cycle once there is roughly $8 million available for loans, from future loan repayments. At one point, I believe the fund balance was roughly $75 million or more, but the fund has faced a constant demand larger than the fund itself. Many main community school buildings require structural upgrades or improvements to help avoid the need for new building construction. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, between 1999 and 2015, the SRRF program funded $171 million out of $346 million of requests. This represents a funding level of slightly over 49% of the requests during that time frame. Some projects have been requested more than once. The urgency of this matter grows every year. I'm including 2 links below of coverage on this issue from 2018 that paints a stark picture of many of our schools. I hope you will read them and agree that it is better to be penny wise to avoid being pound foolish. I ask you to support LD 702. Thank you for your consideration, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Representative Millett. Are there any questions for Representative Millett from the committee? Not seeing any.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I don't see anybody in the attendee list with a hand up. Oh, I do, actually. I see Mr. Hess is here again, so I will move him over to, oh, now his hand is down. So now his hand is up. All right, I will move Mr. Hess over to the panel. Welcome back, Mr. Hess. We cannot hear you, even though you're not on mute. I'm not sure what's going on.
Let's try that with the microphone
There
in front
you
of my
go.
mouth, Senator Breen.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm using some different technology this morning. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, honorable members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. Pleasure to be with you again this morning. My name is Wilson Hess, Chair of the State Board of Education, speaking in support of LD 702. The State Board of Education under Title 20A is responsible for approving projects for state construction aid. Currently, those projects total about $130 million a year for new construction aid. Thus, we have a significant role in school construction in Maine. Even though we have no oversight authority on the school revolving renovation fund, we have a very strong interest in supporting it due to its impact on other construction needs around the state. 5 points I'd like to make, hopefully briefly. In the last major capital funding cycle, the state board approved over $600 million in new construction and additions and renovation projects. During that cycle, the board funded only 40 of 81 qualifying applications due to limited availability of funds. In 2018, we released a new priority list for a new round of funding. That includes 74 qualifying projects that are seeking construction funding. It is likely once again that more than half this time will be unfunded. The current cost of new construction really allows us to fund 2 to 3 projects annually. Given that backlog, there's massive renovation and repair need. In addition to the new construction backlogs that we just talked about, Maine schools are experiencing massive renovation and repair needs. And I think Representative Millett did a very nice job characterizing some of that. Approximately 60% of Maine school buildings are more than 50 years old. Some are more than 100 years old. Current building relating standards and codes addressing issues such as ventilation, by the way, especially important in this post-pandemic era that we're entering, ADA structures, life safety, et cetera, were simply not in place at the time of the construction of our aged school buildings. Many were constructed at a time when lead and asbestos containing materials were preferred, not prohibited, as building products. In its 2016 report card for Maine's infrastructure, the Maine section of the American Society of Civil Engineers gave Maine's pre-K through 12 schools a grade of C, characterized in their lexicon as, quote, mediocre and requiring attention, close quote. Based on that report, we face, at that time, 2016, $914 million in capital funding needs, far beyond the means of local resources. That's $1 billion in round numbers. The scope of funding for repair and renovation looks something like this. When the fund originated in 1998, a target of $200 million was established to meet statewide needs as identified through a survey conducted by the Center of Research and Evaluation at the University of Maine. Since inception, approximately half of that amount, $100 million from both state appropriations and bonds, has been contributed to the fund. In addition, the last edition prior to the funding that Representative Millett referred to in her testimony was in 2008. The revolving nature of the fund has resulted in approximately $175 million in loans over the past 20 years. The rising cost of construction today means that represents the investment in approximately 2 modest-sized high schools. Fortunately, revolving fund projects are often used to leverage local dollars to do more significant renovations, extending buildings' usable lives and meeting critical needs for backlog projects. The fund has been very effective in improving the safety, health, and efficiency of Maine schools facilities. In fact, safety and health are among the top prioritizations. The Representative Millett mentioned that there were priorities. The project prioritizations briefly look something like this. The rules governing revolving renovation funds require awarding funds according to these 5 priorities. Number 1, health, safety, and compliance. Number 2, building structures, water and septic disposal. Number 3, repairs and improvements related to energy and water conservation. Number 4, upgrades of learning spaces. Number 5, other projects approved by the commissioner. Given current funding of the revolving renovation fund, for the past 5 years, very few projects beyond priority 1 have been funded. And as Representative Millette indicated, we do not anticipate funding for several years, given the current size of the fund and the repayment schedule. Pandemic impact. Our recent experiences with the COVID-19 pandemic have brought heightened awareness to indoor air quality in our schools. The State Board's Construction Committee has grown increasingly aware for several years that our present air quality provisions, and this started prior to COVID, are not consistent with the best available techniques and technology for air quality and ventilation in schools. The best available practice standards by the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, acronym ASHRAE, for the inspection, maintenance, and ventilation of filtration dates from 2009. The pending American Recovery Plan ESSER funds that we see, 3rd round of ESSER, will be coming on board in the upcoming months, and we believe that they will provide resources to assess the magnitude of these best available practice shortfalls. What it appears they will not be able to do is provide funds to correct them. A healthy physical environment is essential in providing best quality education. There's lots of science on that now. LD 702 represents an important initiative to respond to the broad and significant issue of the safety and air quality and ventilation in our students' learning environments statewide. The State Board and the Department of Education are working jointly to see that federal funds will be available to do that comprehensive statewide assessment, bringing it up to best available practice standards. The cost of those renovations alone is likely to absorb any revolving renovation funds that we see coming on board in the next several years and fall far short of meeting those needs. Overview, members of the committee, the main school revolving renovation fund is one of the primary alternatives for unfunded projects to meet the educational operation and often primarily critical health and safety needs in our schools. It's a popular and successful program which assists local school units in providing healthy and safe learning environments while extending the lives of buildings. The State Board of Education's perspective on school construction suggests strongly that the unmet need for school construction in the upcoming cycle will be daunting. The main school revolving renovation fund can be an important, indeed a critical part of our statewide response to keep the fund sustainable and make possible continued efforts to address aging infrastructure as we move aggressively to comply with air quality standards issues. For these reasons, the State Board is strongly in support of LD 702. Be happy to ask or answer any questions you may ask.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Hess from the committee? Not seeing any, but we appreciate you being here today. Thank you for your patience and sticking with us through multiple bills, and we will follow up if we have any more questions for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the attendee list who wants to speak on this bill? If so, please raise your electronic hand. Not seeing any. So I will close the hearing for LD 702. And the last bill we have on our list today is LD 1095, sponsored by Senator Pouliot, who is here, and I will move you, Senator, over to the panel.
Good morning still.
Welcome.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you. You can
Great.
proceed.
Awesome, thank you. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs. It's great to see you again today. I'm Senator Matt Pouliot, and I represent Senate District 15, which consists of the towns of Augusta, China, Oakland, Sydney, and Vassalboro. And I'm here today to present LD 1095, which is an act to authorize a general fund bond issue to purchase 4 nursing simulators for use by the University of Maine system and the Maine Community College system. This legislation will give Maine voters the opportunity to decide whether to approve a $3.2 million bond to provide funding for the University of Maine system to purchase 4 nursing simulators to be shared with the Maine Community College system. Maine has been and is currently facing a shortage of nurses due to the demand for healthcare services because of our state's aging population, coupled with the wave of pending retirements in the nursing profession. Layer on the effects of the pandemic, and the need for more nurses has been accelerated. According to the Maine Department of Labor, by 2025, there will be a shortage of 3,200 registered nurses here in Maine. The availability of in-person training for nurses has been diminished due to the rapid changes in clinical placements, patient safety issues, and ethical concerns. Students' direct experience with patient care and opportunities to handle problem-based clinical situations has been diminished. These additional simulators will help these issues, and they provide realistic clinical scenarios. They provide rare emergency situations and provide a variety of authentic, life-threatening situations. Some of the advantages of simulation-based education include the ability to provide immediate feedback, repetitive practice learning, the ability to adjust the difficulty level, and the opportunity for diverse types of learning strategies. Lastly, the additional nursing simulators will increase the ability for nursing students to complete rotations, getting more nurses into the field faster. Sharing the simulators between the University of Maine system and the Maine Community College system will ensure that they are used to capacity. I thank you for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Senator Pouliot. Any questions for Senator Pouliot on LD 1095? I am not seeing any.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the attendee list who would like to testify on LD 1095? I see Becky Smith and Samantha Warren. So I'm going to move Ms. Smith over into the panelist. Actually, I'll move you both over and have Ms. Smith start, and then Ms. Warren will go after her. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Yes, I have a few minutes left of the morning. Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs, my name is Becky Smith. I'm the Director of Government and Community Relations for the Maine Community College System. I'm here today to provide support for LD 1095. Maine's community colleges are an integral part of Maine's healthcare and public health infrastructure. Healthcare is our largest program area. We educate close to 2,000 residents every year, studying to become nurses, LPNs, medical assistants, CNAs, PT assistants, cardiovascular, radiography, and respiratory technicians, and the list goes on. Each and every one of our colleges has multiple allied health programs. Some are free short-term training programs that get students ready to work in weeks. Some result in badges and micro-credentials. The bulk of them are 2-year-long associate degree programs such as nursing, and many are the only program in the state and often in the region. We are very proud that our nursing students' pass rate for the most recent NCLEX or nursing exam was above the state average, over 90% pass rate for every college who had students sit for the exam. Our students are well educated and ready to work. However, there are not enough of them. As you well know, Maine's healthcare workforce is in dire straits. Maine's community colleges are working round the clock and in new and creative ways to get our well-educated graduates out into the healthcare workforce, but we do not have enough resources. Our programs are continuously at capacity, and we often turn people away, in part due to lack of training spaces and opportunities, and in part due to our aging nurse educator workforce. We hear time and time again from healthcare employers that they have a huge nursing shortage and they need us to do more. Maine healthcare providers will need to fill 1,150 nursing vacancies per year based on current hiring practices, while Maine's colleges and universities, both public and private, graduate only 750 nurses per year. That shortage is forcing work normally performed by nurses to be reassigned to other health providers, primarily trained by the Maine Community College system. Demand for medical assistants is projected to grow 19% through 2029, much faster than the average for all occupations. Likewise, demand for phlebotomists is projected to grow 17%, CNAs 8%, surgical technicians 7%, and EMTs 6% through the end of the decade. We do offer some friendly suggestions as you consider this proposal. The University of Maine system campuses are not always proximate to our students, faculty, and campuses. Sharing this equipment is a fantastic way to assure we are best using our available resources, but it must be done in a way and in locations that can serve most of Maine. There are mobile options for simulation labs that could help fulfill the goals of this bill, or conversely, we could house 2 on MCCS campuses where we see the largest need, and the university system could do the same. 2 of our nursing programs offered these thoughts as you consider this proposal. Kathy McManus, the chair of the nursing department at Central Maine Community College, stated, "Simulation has become an integral part of teaching methodologies in nursing education. Every nursing student in the MCCS is educated using simulation during the course of their program. Simulation allows for realistic, context-rich, unfolding learning in a safe environment. Simulation offers the student a chance to make clinical judgments for patient care and to evaluate the outcomes of their decisions, often learning from each other as well as the faculty during debriefing sessions. Students can learn and perform skills not allowed or seldom seen in the clinical environment." And she has some more comments that I won't read at this time, just in the interest of time. We also heard from Pilar Burmeister, who's the chair of nursing at Eastern Maine Community College, and she wanted to add that for the community colleges to provide highly critical training for future nurses, responding directly to the needs of the healthcare service system in the state. Our partner hospitals generously provide access to their simulation labs, but it is fairly limited time and often needs to accommodate several different nursing education programs within a region. And this additional support from this bill will create additional access for students to further experience hands-on skill development. And the consideration of a mobile simulation lab will further extend the reach and opportunity for several students, particularly in isolated rural areas. For approximately $500,000, a mobile simulation lab could potentially be used throughout the year, shared with Washington County Community College, and extend access. The resources itemized in this bond proposal, along with our budget request, which was unanimously supported by the Education Committee, and support for nurse educators, which was unanimously supported by the IDEA Committee, has the opportunity to help Maine's colleges and universities meet this demand. With all 3 of these parts in place, we and the University of Maine system can get down to the rewarding work of training the next generation of nurses and medical professionals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Any questions from the committee for Ms. Smith? Not seeing any at this time. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And now we have Samantha Warren. Welcome, Ms. Warren. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Senator Breen, Representative Peirce, and distinguished members of the committee. Good to see you. I'm Sam Warren. I'm Director of Government and Community Relations for Maine's public universities, and you will see us before you anytime there is an opportunity to speak in support of investments in nursing education and workforce training as proposed by this legislation. As I think you're well aware, we've talked about with many of you before, the 2 factors that are most limiting enrollment growth in the post-secondary nursing programs that develop the bulk of the workforce pipeline are inadequate facilities and not enough faculty. I give you an example that our universities are receiving a record number of applications, more than 3,100 for the current academic year across the system, which is a 16% increase from just 2 years ago. Unfortunately, we are forced to turn away hundreds of qualified candidates due to faculty and facility constraints. And you just heard my colleague at the community colleges speak about that. At the University of Maine alone, there were over 1,400 applications for just 80 slots in this year's incoming class. I most wanted to be here with you today to let you know that the past investments you've made in nursing education facilities are paying off. We have used funds from the infrastructure general obligation bond that you supported and the people in Maine in turn supported in 2018, as well as private funding to expand and enhance simulator space and thus nursing enrollment at the University of Maine, the University of Southern Maine, and also at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. And as I know Representative Martin will appreciate, and others among you, that simulation space at the University of Maine at Presque Isle was named in honor of your former colleague in the legislature and my predecessor at the University of Maine system, John Lisnick, and was dedicated in a small socially distant ceremony with his family this fall. The state-of-the-art simulation space has allowed the University of Maine at Fort Kent to bring its in-demand Bachelor of Science in Nursing program to Central Aroostook County for the first time in direct support of local workforce needs. And in its first year, there are 78 students already enrolled using that simulation space daily. And because that space was built to include obstetrics simulation, not currently available at UMFK, 80 students from the St. John Valley are currently traveling to Presque Isle to additionally use that simulation space. So again, that investment that you made is already really paying off in Aroostook County. Despite these investments and that our nursing programs are the largest degree producing programs in the system, our campus leaders still identify the lack of adequate simulation equipment and space, as well as lab spaces across all campuses, as the limit on enrollment and student experience. That's why we support this bill. In addition to basic needs like OB equipment at UMFK so that students didn't have to travel an hour south to Presque Isle, we can envision adding simulation space in Farmington, where the University of Maine at Augusta will start delivering its BSN program this fall. And as Becky spoke about, we see an opportunity to purchase some joint mobile units that could be shared with the community college system, as well as community healthcare partners, that would allow student training and also give us an opportunity to bring some, some types of clinical care that our students and faculty could deliver to rural communities. If you move this bond forward, whether it's through bonding or some other mechanism, it needs to be coupled with investments in nursing education faculty. As Becky spoke about, the IDEA committee has unanimously supported funding the nursing faculty educators loan repayment program, which was created wisely by the 122nd legislature, but has not been funded since. All of our programs have critical vacancies on the faculty lines. Since the director of the UMaine School of Nursing program joined us 6 years ago, 80% of the faculty in that program have either retired or passed away. Again, that's a program that had 1,400 applicants, only 80 of which could be accepted. Meanwhile, at USM, the nursing faculty is the smallest it has been in at least 15 years, despite historic enrollment at both the undergraduate and graduate level. Again, that high enrollment is in part because of the simulation expansion that 2018 bond supported. The COVID pandemic has certainly reinforced the connection between public and economic health that the task force that examined 21st century workforce and economics in the state several years ago and made this recommendation noted. As our oldest in the nation state looks to rebuild its economy and communities, the need for nurses is now greater than ever. And with these investments, our universities and certainly the community colleges as well can better serve those who aspire to become nurses and those whose lives depend on their care. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Any questions for Ms. Warren from any committee members? Not seeing any. Thank you for joining us. So that is the entirety of our public hearings. Well, let me close the public hearing now for LD 1095. And looks like Representative Hymanson has a question. No, okay. So that concludes our committee work for today and for this week. We will be together again next week to hear some more bond hearings on Monday and Tuesday. Both Wednesday, we will be in session at the Civic Center. And then we will have some more bond hearings on Thursday, the 29th. Also starting at 10 a.m. So are there any questions from the committee about our schedule? Anything coming up that folks need more information about before we adjourn for the day? Anything from our analyst, Maureen, to update us on or make sure is on our radar?
I think it's all covered. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being together this week, virtually anyway. And I know I look forward to seeing everybody in person next week at the Civic Center. So with that, I will conclude our session today and wish everyone a healthy and good weekend. And again, it's great to have Representative Martin back with us, and really glad to see you and have you back in committee this week. All right, thanks everybody.